everyone. Very happy to be live. Oh, you picked a perfect day because it's Yorkshire Day.
It is Yorkshire Day, Kaz. And happy Yorkshire to you. And everybody else.
For your author chat. Start us off with an intro to you and your books.
Cool. My name is Chris Speck. I write predominantly literature about East Yorkshire. I write sort of all areas, mostly historical fiction. So I've written lots of books about seafaring murder mysteries set in Hull. I've also written a new trilogy of highwayman novels set right here in East Yorkshire in the 18th century. The last one just came out. It's called Swift Nik. There's Swift Nik on the cover there. It's the story of Dick Turpin. It's the third in the series, so it concludes the whole series, and it means I don't have to write any more 18th century stuff. But earlier this year, my whole gangland thriller came out, Avenue Cars. This does really well. It's a gangland thriller set in Hull, set in a taxi office with a ragtag, 3 or 4 different drivers who have problems across the city. And it's about their struggles with life and crime and being in Hull and being poor and all the other problems that you face when you live in this city. So yeah, that's me. My current book I'm working on is the follow-up to Avenue Cars. It's going to be centered around working girls and all the problems that they face. It's kind of a difficult subject. It's not as easy to write about as some of the things I've written about before. So research is not very nice, really.
No, you weren't making Hull sound very appealing in your description either.
No, it's a great city, but like everywhere, it's got its issues, and I think lots of things get swept under the carpet and they don't get talked about. And I think it's my job to talk about those things. So in Avenue Cars, I do talk. There's one of the characters is an asylum seeker. She's from Kurdistan. Not something that people know much about. So it was my job to find out about that and try and write about it in the books. So yeah, the next one I'm about halfway through now. And it's going okay, but yeah, as the life of a working girl is quite a tough gig in some ways, in lots of ways.
Quite hard to write sensitively as well, I'd imagine.
Yeah, well, I mean, you just do what kind of people in Hull do, which is just sort of take the mick. That's what anything that's too serious to talk about, they just make fun of it. And I don't know if that's a normal thing. I mean, people in Leeds would do that as well, Kaz, wouldn't they?
Maybe it's a northern thing.
Yeah. So if it's too serious, you just make fun of it, and then it can't hurt you too much. So I've tried to do a bit of that because people do generally just get on with things that are difficult. It's hard for them, but they do.
You've got some hellos already from Laura and TG Campbell. It's great to see you both again.
TG, nice to see you. And there's hi, Laura.
And this is TG as well. She said, even if you read no other book this year, read The Great Frost.
That's really nice. Yeah, that's The Great Frost is the first book that I wrote, set in right here in East Yorkshire, in my village of North Burton. And it's about a great frost in 1709 that froze the whole of Yorkshire and Europe, indeed. And it's about a highwayman and how he falls in love with a village lass. And as it says, there's 3 murders, a village lass, and a highwayman. The thrills and spills of living in East Yorkshire. So yeah, I enjoyed writing that one. And then I fell down a rabbit hole and wrote another 3. So the one that's just come out, Nik the Swift, is the final chapter in this story, really. And it ties up all the loose ends from all the books. And will hopefully give you a warm and happy feeling inside. And
you've had some cover makeovers of them.
Yeah, we made over the covers so they looked all the same. So we tried to feature, so me and the publishers, we made them all look a little bit similar. So when you can see one, you know they were part of the same series.
So you got that one, then there's Richie Lad.
There's Richie Lad. Unfortunately, I've sold out of all the... I've got all the proper covers, the new cover ones of this one. There's my son on the front cover. This is the story of how a young Dick Turpin and how he comes to be the greatest highwayman in the world. And his struggles with his big dog Black Bess. So there's 3 of them. So yeah, and basically that finishes off the series really, and I can kind of leave the 18th century behind, sadly. I've written a Christmas special with Richie Lad in it that will be out for free at Christmas.
Oh, brilliant.
It's the story of, it's only a novella, so it's about 15,000 words. It'll be free at Christmas to download. And it's the story of how Richie saves a gentleman in the snow in a village near Skidby. And he also invents Yorkshire puddings.
Were Yorkshire puddings invented in Yorkshire?
Right, well, it took a bit of research. So the first mention of Yorkshire puddings is in something like 1760. And it's by a lady called Hannah Glass, who's from Northumberland. And she ended up writing, she was a housemaid for many years. And she ended up writing this sort of the first recipe book in the UK. And in it, she copied lots of recipes down. And it's the first mention of Yorkshire puddings. So in the story, she's in the same pub that Richie's in about 1722. And, he shows her how to make Yorkshire puddings. And she calls them Yorkshire puddings. So he invents Yorkshire puddings right here in the Half Moon in Skidby, which is also famous for its Yorkshire puddings.
Is it?
It really is. No, they're really good. They make great big square Yorkshire puddings, and they'll fill them with anything you want. And even if you're a vegetarian, they'll fill them with like really good stuff as well.
So that's good.
Oh, excellent.
I feel like filled Yorkshire puddings are like a very northern thing, aren't they?
Oh, yeah. Yorkshire puddings should be big. That's how they were meant to be. They shouldn't be little and round. I mean
they're good little and round as well.
They're okay. I mean, do you make your own Yorkshire puddings, Kaz?
I don't. I'm not a very good cook.
Oh, no, well, they are quite, you've got to, it's kind of hard to do it properly. I'm not very good at it yet, but I'm getting better.
My mum used to make amazing ones when she cooked when we were younger, but my mum is not from Yorkshire.
Well, you don't have to be from Yorkshire to make them well, but it does help.
She has lived up around here, like in the north, for a while.
Oh, no, Facebook. Someone just said, Chris Speck, can we see your pistol? Do you know what? I'm really sorry. I don't know if that's TJ, but TJ, my daughter, borrowed my pistol and my hat to be a fancy dress person, and she hasn't brought them back yet. So I haven't got my pistol, sadly.
Oh no! You'll have to post a picture when you have it back.
Yeah, I need to get it back. Yeah, I need to get my pistol and my highwayman's hat back, and I would definitely, because they're good, especially if you're thinking about some of the highwayman scenes. You can hold it and wander around the house, pointing it at things. So I'm sorry about that. But you can buy them from Leeds Museum. That's where I got mine from.
Yeah, the Armories.
Yeah, the Armories is a great museum, Kaz, isn't it?
Yeah, I love the Armories. We were discussing it at Harrogate with someone. I'm trying to persuade people from Bath that you would want to go there.
But really, you really do want to go there. Really, really do.
We're like, once you explain that it's just full of like swords and there's jousting.
Oh, but it's not just that. They've got weapons from like India. They've got stuff from like Persia. They've got like really
the armored elephants are the thing, aren't they?
Oh yeah,
those are the best bits.
Oh, tremendous! Like Leeds Armories are very well worth a visit, and they do sell like replica weapons, which is where I got my replica pistol. So yeah, I was gonna buy. I might yet still do a big flintlock pistol, but they're a bit cumbersome, and I probably wouldn't be able to carry it on the bike back from the post office.
Maybe not. Would you really want to be biking around Hull with a replica pistol?
I think people would be okay with that. They would know that it wasn't anything dangerous.
Well, I mean, if it's a replica flintlock, they would probably know it's a bit.
Yeah, they'd be okay with that. They wouldn't be too scared. People, they're kind of tough, so that they'll be okay.
I wouldn't imagine it's the kind of thing a highwayman would use, though.
What, a flintlock?
Like a bigger one, like a smaller pistol. I would have thought would be better.
You're right. They wouldn't probably use a really big one, but they might do, because there's usually a gang. So there might be one guy who would use a big musket to knock some of the people out in the gang. I mean, in the Great Frost, the gang of my highwayman gang is always three. So it's the Pearlman, who's the heart. There's a big guy called Carlos, who's the sharpshooter, and there's Dandy Jim, who's the brain, and that's they work as a three. And so, well, you've read it. So yeah, Carlos he's a sharpshooter. He does have the big musket, which he can shoot very, very well. So yeah, I think they would have used them, but they're expensive guns back in the day. Normal people wouldn't have had one. you just so you wouldn't find an average person with a weapon at all like that. Something of the nobility to carry.
So how did your highwaymen end up with them?
Well, they stole them, or they stole money to buy them. So that's how they got around it. And yeah, they're kind of they're a bit wealthy in the end as well. But yes, I've wrapped the story up. And I finished the 3 books now, and it's interesting actually because, as I said, I'm from Cherry Burton, which is North Burton in the book, and my mum's just sold her house there as well, so there's no reason for me to ever go back there again. Also, in the Great Frost, right at the front, I hid some treasure in East Yorkshire. I hid some treasure, and I don't know if I've told you this, Kaz. Have I told you this one?
You did, and I think it's written in the front of the book, isn't it, that you did it?
Yeah, it is. So if you can crack the code in the Great Frost, it will take you, use a website called What 3 Words. It will take you to a spot right here in East Yorkshire, and there's some treasure for you to find and take if you wish. It's been taken a few times already.
Has it?
But I don't know by who.
Do people not send you like a little message when they found it?
No, there's no way to send. I mean, unless you go on my website or you know me, then you can't really send me a message. But it's just been stolen, and it's been stolen twice, and it's quite obvious if you see it and find it. But yeah, they've stolen it twice. So I've had to replace it.
I'm intrigued now as to what the treasure is.
It's really great treasure. I can't really say anything, but it will leave you. It will make you smile, and you'll be richer for it, I should say.
What a description.
You would definitely be richer for it.
So you've got your description of Nik the Swift. Says that Richie has one last errand to run before he goes to the gallows again. That's brilliant.
Oh right, yeah. Well, he does, yeah. So I finished off Richie Ladd when Dick Turpin was 17, and I picked up the story again when he's 44. So he's had a whole life, and he's a whole life on the road, and he's done a lot of bad things, and he basically he's got one last thing to do before they'll hang him, and he's been given a task to rescue a lass, and it basically he'll do that, and that's the end of him. But it's not quite how it works out for him, because the lassie he rescues is Swift Nik. And if you remember the Dick Turpin stories from the 70s, Swift Nik was always his sidekick. It was a man usually. But so I wanted to twist it up a bit. And so it's a 16-year-old girl. She comes from a wealthy household in Beverley. She learns to be quite tough. She learns to look after herself. And, ultimately she learns to look after him as well. So it's a bit like a father and daughter story.
That's nice. Does it end up the way that we know the Dick Turpin story does?
Well, no, because
not to give away spoilers.
I'm not going to spoil. It's not a spoiler, but in real life, I think Turpin was hung in 1736. This is set in 1744. So the way I've got around it, I got around it the same way that the ITV series from the 70s got around it. I just said that the wrong guy got hung. So they hung a guy. They thought it was Dick Turpin, but it wasn't Dick Turpin, and that's how I've got around it and allowed him to live on past his being hung.
I mean, in reality, you wouldn't necessarily have known that you got the right guy.
I think that's true, because his name was John Palmer, and there was some speculation as to whether he was Dick Turpin. He was only convicted because of his handwriting. I can't really see that would be, watertight. I think they were looking for someone to hang, and he was the one they hung.
Yeah. There's not a lot of, when you go back and read old court things, there's not a lot of evidence, is there? That
oh no, they just decide, they decide, oh, whatever he said, that's true, so it is. So yeah, and it's kind of there's no justice really. And it was a brutal age. It was a brutal time. It was who you know, and it was how much money you had that would dictate, how successful you were. And if you got convicted, if you were rich, you could probably pay someone off. A little bit like it is now. Not sure.
Laura says, clever work all round.
Well, thank you very much, Laura. It's not really, though.
TG thinks the treasure's your toenail clippings.
Oh no! It's something good. You want to keep it. If you found it, TG, you want to keep it, and you'd be happy with it. And as I say, you'd be wiser for it also.
We need to bring it back to Yorkshire.
Yeah,
Really.
come up if you can find it. You can go and get it. It's probably there right now.
Hopefully, if no one's stolen it again.
Well, it's been a few weeks since I've been back there, so.
Out of all your books, which one has had the best reception from readers, would you say?
Easily North Sea Tale. Easily this one. This is the one that people seem to like. This is a 1974 murder mystery set on a trawler. And yeah, they go up, and there's a young lad called Danny who gets aboard the ship. And through his eyes, you can set to see how a ship works in 1974. You see how they catch the fish. They see the rigors and the horrors of living at sea. And also there's a murder, so they have to solve that. For some reason, people love that. They buy it all the time. Maybe it's the whole connection. Maybe it's that people like ships. I enjoyed writing it. You know, it was a one-off. But I think I'm going to revisit the sea. Next year, I'm going to write another trawler book, this time set in World War One. Often they used trawlers in World War One to clear mines and to do some of the fighting as well. So it will be a whole trawler versus a German U-boat, and it'll be high action on the seas with lots of weird and wonderful whole characters and lots of good German characters on the U-boats as well.
Yeah, we were talking about that before we went live, weren't we? Because you've just been on a research trip.
Yeah, I've just been out to Berlin to have a look at where the captain of the U-boat comes from. He comes from Königs Wusterhausen, which is south of Berlin, with some beautiful lakes where he learned to sail. It's really beautiful out there, and yeah, very calm. But everyone's quite serious.
Are they? I think German people are quite friendly.
Yeah, well, I mean, I stayed outside of Berlin in a little village, and they were quite serious there, But they were so friendly, especially because I can't speak any German at all. I mean, in Berlin they were really super friendly, but on the whole, they're lovely. It's a beautiful country.
It really is, isn't it?
It's very nice. So, Kaz, it's Yorkshire Day. What's your favourite thing about Yorkshire?
It's my favourite thing about Yorkshire. Oh, that's a good question. How friendly everyone is.
That's true, yeah. Are they friendlier in Leeds, do you think, than they are anywhere else in Yorkshire?
I don't know. As you know, I'm quite partial to someone from Hull. So,
well, indeed, you live with a person from Hull, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. So, no, I don't think it's one particular part of it. I just think Yorkshire in general's very friendly and nice.
Yeah, I agree. It is quite nice. So happy Yorkshire Day.
Yeah, has good music scenes as well, doesn't it? Generally, there's lots of good bands from Yorkshire.
That's true. Lots going on too.
Yeah, it's a good time to plug your band.
Yeah, I'm in a band called Black Kez, where I play the washboard, even though I'm a guitarist. I don't know quite how that happened, but we're like a 4-piece skiffle punk band, and we play like sort of rowdy, semi-drunken music, and we have a really good time doing it. We've just come back from a festival called Beat Herder in Lancashire, and it rained for the entire weekend.
There's nothing worse than a festival that rains for the whole weekend, is there?
So bad. It was like living in the Somme. It was great.
Although I do have very happy memories of dancing in the rain at music festivals.
Where have you been to Glastonbury before, Kaz? What have you been to? Do you go to Leeds Festival?
Yeah, I've done Leeds Festival and Slam Dunk, which is a punk one.
Oh, cool.
A few times.
Yeah, I like them, but it was good and bad that it rained. We'll never forget it.
My days at Leeds Festival are a little bit over though.
Okay.
If like I'm not too old now.
Okay, yeah, it's a bit, yeah. Well, I'm not sure you're too old, but
no, it's less than it used to be. It used to be good when it had like all the really rocky stuff.
Yeah, it's quite a big festival, this Leeds Festival, isn't it?
You can't go see Rage Against the Machine anymore, or like Metallica.
No.
It's all like Billie Eilish and
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we sort of maybe do 3 or 4 festivals in the summer, and then we'll just play around here. Maybe we'll play in York or sort of around here. We played Leeds a few times, various places. But yeah, it's yeah. I think we're going to do our Beast of Barmston Drain. A 10-year. It's been 10 years of the band, so we'll do a rock opera called Beast of Barmston Drain about a big wolf that lives in Hull and eats people.
which I found out by reading a book by have you read Peter Laws ever? He's a reverend, but he's really obsessed with horror. He writes quite spooky books. And he wrote a book about why people like horror. And he actually went hunting the werewolf in Hull.
Did he find it?
No, but like it was really. So my husband went to St Mary's School.
Okay.
It's like really near there, isn't it?
Yeah.
And he was like, "I've never heard of this story."
Well, it's a funny thing because I don't know. About 8 or 9 years ago, there was I think Alice Cooper tweeted about the Beast of Barmston Drain, and so suddenly it became a thing. And it wasn't really a thing then, but it's about a werewolf that lives on this river, basically a drain, and there was kind of worldwide interest in it. And our historian friend Mike Covell, he got in touch with the band Black Kes. He said, "Look, we've got these guys coming from from some American TV show, and they're looking for different monsters around the world. They'd been up to Loch Ness to look for the Loch Ness monster. Apparently, they'd been somewhere in Brazil, and they'd been in another few places, and they were in Hull looking for the Beast of Barmston Drain." And so I got in touch with the producer and said, "Look, we can do a show for you if you want, and we've got a few songs about the Beast of Barmston Drain." So we set up a show for them, and we invited all our friends, and there was an American TV crew there, and they filmed us. And all of our friends said, "Oh yes, we definitely seen the Beast." One after another, they were lying to this American TV, saying, "Oh, my grandma used to talk about it," and it's not, it's not really a legend here. It kind of is now, but it wasn't before. So that was a really good day. But we've never seen a TV show because you can't see it in the UK.
Really? That's no good, is it?
I know. Well, we had to sign away all our rights to all the music, so we didn't get paid for it. But they bought us lots and lots and lots of drinks.
Well, that was good at least.
And you'd have continuity drinks. So you'd be talking, and if you drank some of your drink, then the director would notice and say, "Oh, you have to get him another drink because he's got less than he had like a minute ago, and it will the continuity won't be there." So all the lads were drinking, trying to get as much down them as they could so they could get another one. But it was a good day, and yeah, it was quite memorable to do that show. Do you like a bit of horror, Kaz?
I like horror books, but not movies.
What's your favorite? Who's your favorite horror writer?
It's a tie between Joe Hill and Paul Tremblay, with Grady Hendrix a close third.
Is it like would you like sort of thriller horror or monster horror?
I like kind of clever horror. So Paul Tremblay's got a really good Head Full of Ghosts, which is about like an exorcism on a reality show.
Cool.
And Head Full of Ghosts, he names the title for a Bad Religion song.
Oh.
So it's like good.
Yeah, I'm not I mean, horror films are not for me at all, really. I don't like all grisly stuff.
My best friend loves them, and he makes horror props. He makes like Bucky dolls and zombies and things and sells them. But yeah, he's not managed to persuade me over to watching horror films yet.
Yeah, me neither. I can't. It's not something I enjoy. I'm a bit too tender for that sort of thing, I don't mind a bit of boxing, but nothing nasty.
Laura Hamilton says Yorkshire mix sweets. Her thing that she likes from Yorkshire.
Very good, very good. I agree. I concur with that.
Yeah, good. Bonfire toffee as well. Bonfire toffee, I think, is a very Yorkshire thing.
What? Vampire toffee?
No, bonfire toffee. You must have had bonfire toffee. No,
I don't know if we do that kind of thing here. What? we would have parking.
Yeah, parking's great. My dad makes great parking.
But yeah, parking at bonfire night. But there's probably a lot of, because East Yorkshire.
As well. No, never had bonfire toffee.
I mean, no. I mean, maybe it's a big thing. Oh, I don't know what it is. No. But East Yorkshire's like kind of different from West Yorkshire, really. Even the way we talk is different.
It is very different, isn't it?
And even how the landscape's different. Like where I live is like completely flat. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of a bit slow around here. Leeds is quite fast paced, and I know it's a big, busy city. But yeah, and then you got North Yorkshire again, which is like a bit more regal than East Yorkshire, perhaps.
Yeah, you've got a very vibrant history in East Yorkshire, though, haven't you?
Well, all the places in England have. If you just look for it, you'll find the vibrant history. It's all there. You just have to take something that's like very small and make it very big, and that's what I tend to do in the books. They sort of make something that potentially a history teacher would tell to their students and bore them to death, but make it exciting, make it really good. Like in the latest story, I've got Dick Turpin comes to Hull in 1744, and so it allows me to look around the city in 1744. I can look. It's got walls. It's got rats in the streets. It's got prostitutes on the corner, dangerous pubs. It's got a great big fortress just across the river. And so it was beautiful to go around my city in 1744 and think what it would be like and how it would be. And so it's really nice to go around, this area, but go back in time, really.
And realise that apart from the fortress, it's not that different.
No. Well, I don't know. No, it probably isn't that. I don't know if the attitude has changed, really. Because we did start the Civil War started here in the middle of the 1600s, apparently. So there is that kind of anti-monarchy feeling in the city. I don't know how strong it was then. It's quite strong now, I think.
And yet it's called Kingston.
Irony. Irony, I think. Oh, it must be.
Has its own unique things, doesn't it? Like your own communication system and white phone booths and.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do have some things that are not the same. But yeah, I mean, nobody uses telephone boxes anymore, do they? So they're kind of just there. They're like strange white boxes in the city. It's kind of bizarre.
I think we keep them as a bit of a novelty now, don't we?
Well, yeah. I mean, in the little village where I grew up, it's now a book swap. So they just fill the phone box full of books that they've read. I always go and put one of my books when it comes out in there, and then people can come and pinch it and swap.
Do people in your village? Have you had people in your village read it and give you any feedback?
Oh yeah. They seem to they got on quite well with it, I think, really. So yeah, I mean, Cherry Burton's, it's a nice little village. Nothing happens there. It's got one pub. 3 streets out. That's it. It's kind of a bit dead, but it's lovely. It was nice to grow up there until you're about 10, and then you just want to leave.
Yeah, I can imagine. I don't. Where I was born, I've never been back to.
Well, where are you from originally, then, Kaz?
I am from. I've recently met someone who is the only person I've ever met from the same place as me.
Wow.
I was born on an RAF base in Lincolnshire.
Oh, really? Oh,
wow. Because my dad was in the army when I was born.
And so you've never been back?
Nope, we left when he came out of the army when I was 6 months old. Never been back.
But I mean, you didn't grow up there, did you? So
no. But I've got a cool birth certificate that says, RAF, whatever on it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So did you grow up in Leeds, in the city?
No, just all over the place. Leeds for a bit. Yeah, other places. We moved around a bit.
And when did you start reading?
Me? When I was 3.
Really? What were the kind of books that got you when you were younger?
Oh, I used to like all the old children's classics, like Heidi and the Famous Five and things. Then I had a big Jules Verne phase.
Oh yeah.
Reading all of his books. And then I think, I used to read loads of classics when I was little because you could get them with your pocket money for like £1.
Or you could get them out of the school library and the teachers, and they were kind of better written than lots of the kids' books at the time.
Yeah, and I skipped, because I could read when I went to school, I skipped a lot of the kids' books.
Yeah, well, me too. It was kind of, I mean, what really fired me up onto reading was there was a comic called 2000 AD. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I have heard of that.
Featuring Judge Dredd. And that was what I really liked. I mean, and I used to read that every week. It was like, that was my thing. And when I first started writing, it's like when I was 12 or 13, first thing I wanted to write was a script for Judge Dredd. And I used to write one every year and send it in to 2000 AD, and they'd just reject it. Every year until I was in my early 20s, I think. And then I thought, look, stop writing comic scripts because they don't want them. But yeah, it was nice, a little thing to do. I'd love to write Judge Dredd one day, though.
David Bishop, who just won the historical dagger, for the CWA, won the historical dagger this year. He has written for Judge Dredd.
Oh, really?
And like 2000 AD, and comics and things. We've got a few crime authors and like comic authors and crime authors.
Yeah.
I interviewed Anthony Johnston a while ago, and he wrote Atomic Blonde.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. He wrote Atomic Blonde. That was a film as well, wasn't it?
Mm.
Oh, wow, cool. Was that a comic strip as well?
Yeah. It's a graphic novel, yeah.
Really good. I'm a big fan of Alan Moore as well.
We're going to fall out again because it's like you've been a big fan of Steinbeck. I don't like Alan Moore.
Don't you like Alan Moore? Oh, no. But have you read his comic books before, though?
I have. I don't like them.
They're quite gruesome, aren't they?
They are, yeah. Yeah. Big a fan of Neil Gaiman. I like his comic books.
Very good, also excellent, yeah, really good. I mean, yeah, he's really good. I really enjoy. I mean, I've read a lot of those actually. Comics was kind of what I used to read all the time. That was the thing that I enjoyed most.
Do you know what? I still love them.
Me too.
You get so many good ones. Would you put yours out as a graphic novel?
Well, yeah. The thing is, though, with graphic novels, you can't. With a novel, you can go back into someone's history. You can talk about, stuff that you can't really do in a graphic novel because you'd have to picturize it. So, a lot of things I like talking about, I don't think I could do as a graphic novel, really. And besides, I mean, I don't know anyone who's good enough to draw it, apart from my daughter. She writes them sometimes, and she's good at them. But yeah, it's a different genre to script writing and comic writing. I think it's a different thing. I'm not sure I can do it.
Fair enough. TG said there's a good ghost walk in York. Tony Millington has said that Hull's mentioned in the Doomsday Book, if you want to go back that far.
Oh, well, I would do, definitely, yes.
He also said pardon?
I think it was called Wyke back then.
Was it?
I think so.
He also said who's interviewing who here.
Oh. I like asking questions.
I think it's fine. It's a teacher thing. We're all nosy. We just like asking questions.
Well, it's good. It's it's normal to ask people questions. I like it, and that's what I mean. I just got rung up, but a reporter rang me up from a newspaper yesterday morning, and she'd only been working as a journalist for a week. Bless her. So I did all the questions for her. I found out all about her. So that was nice. Did
she find out much about you for her article, or?
I don't know. I don't think so, really. But anyway, she was really shy, and so yeah, I was hopefully she'll get something from, like, she can read my website or something, get something from there.
What paper are you going to be in?
I think it was the Goole Times. You know Goole, beautiful little town on 60 miles away from the sea. It's a port. So I'm going there in a couple of weeks to give some talks to the museum.
I don't think I've ever actually been to Goole. I've been through it because you go through it to go to Hull, don't you?
Well, yeah, you go past it. Or you can go through it if you want as well. But I've only been the once, I think. But I'm looking forward to going again because I've been talking to the curator of Goole Museum. He's a really nice guy, and he says, "Look, why don't you use Goole in one of your books? It's really good." And I thought, "Oh, yeah, it really is." And he's been telling me about the river, and some of the history of it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to having a look around. And I work with a guy from Google as well.
The kids at my school have got a really big rivalry that they've invented themselves with Google Academy.
Really?
Yeah, we did a robotics competition in Google Academy. We're at our regional final and we beat them, and then they won something at the national one. And our school are like now they're like, oh, Google Academy, oh, like they really don't like them.
So they're enemies of your students then?
They're enemies of our students for some reason. They've not done anything to make themselves enemies, but
Google. Have you heard the legendary story about the guy who registered the Google.com website? So apparently he registered Google.com many, many years ago, before Google became big. And he just kept the website with a few adverts on it. And every person who'd write into the internet and they'd try and write Google, and they'd accidentally write Google, they would go to his website and they would click on his adverts. And that's how he made his money, until he eventually was bought out by Google themselves many years later for many hundreds of millions of pounds. I like to think it's true.
yeah, I'd like to think that was true.
I might try it. I wonder if it's still there.
Yeah, try it later.
It is in East Yorkshire, you know, Google. It's not in West Yorkshire. It should be in West Yorkshire, really.
Really?
Yeah, I think they identify more with, like, you know, they're all support leads and stuff like that.
Do they? Oh, poor them. You'd think it'd be better than living in Gould.
Do you not support Leeds then, Kaz? You're not a Leeds fan?
I'm not a football fan
Well, me neither, completely.
in general. Don't really like. No football.
Not for me either, really. No.
More of a rugby fan in our household.
Yeah, well, Hull's a rugby town. Leeds is kind of a rugby town as well, isn't it?
It is, yeah, proper rugby town. Back in the day, you used to get like massive crowds at like rugby matches. Like the local derby in Leeds would get like 100,000.
Yeah, they're still very popular here.
You still have two kind of big teams, don't you, in Hull?
Yeah.
Whereas there's only really one in Leeds now, like the others aren't.
Well, that's a pity.
In the same thing anymore. So you don't get that same local derby in the city.
Yeah, we get it here, but they don't fight really. They don't like each other, but they don't fight. They're not like football fans.
No, although Hull fans have done some dodgy things in rugby as well.
Probably.
But I think it's more the FC, like they're the ones that play at the big stadium, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the ones that have caused some trouble.
I did try and write. I was in Avenue Cars. It originally started off about an ex-Hull KR player who was down on his luck, and he was one of the drivers, and he was just too boring. So I got rid of him because he was on amphetamines. He'd been a rugby star, and you know, it was like, well, you know, I didn't. So I got rid of him and replaced him with one of the girls that I've got in the book. I
think it's kind of interesting having an all-girl taxi kind of team.
Yeah, I didn't really mean to do that. It just sort of happened because they have much bigger stories to tell. Because when I interviewed a lot of taxi drivers for it, you know, they're lovely guys, but you know, they've got a certain suite of stories, and they kind of, I couldn't find enough to hang a book on. But you know, normal women have got like huge amount of backstory, especially the ones I chose. So you know, they've got more to say than you sort of the average taxi driver, and so that was more interesting. And it ended up being, it's not really about taxi driving; it's just about girls, really, about the problems the women face there. Because they don't.
Also got the old ex-Hull KR player thing going, hasn't he?
Who's that?
Nik Quantrill. His detective Joe Garrity.
Yes, he is. Yeah. So he's an ex-player as well. Yeah, it's good to tie in things from the city. But in my next book, Kaz, he does come to Leeds quite a lot. The lead character, and the baddies are from Leeds.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's all right. I'm not from Leeds. I'm not going to be offended.
Good. Well, the baddies are from Leeds, and they're big city people, and they're not very pleasant. And so I've had to. I haven't been to Leeds for a while since I last came to talk to you, actually. But I constantly look at Google Maps, which is a great aid for a writer for me, because you can look at all the streets and you can look at everything and you can zoom in and have a look. So I've been sort of researching the city streets of Leeds.
Yeah, you came to our first live event, didn't you? You and your historical panel with Cheesy Campbell, who's watching.
Yes, that was really nice.
It was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
genuinely, I think my favourite panel of the day.
Oh, great! Well, it was mine too.
It was just great. It was because it was just a really lovely chat. Everyone just got involved, didn't they? And we're talking research and pistols and.
We did, yeah. We talked about weapons, a lot of things. It was good. It was really good, and the audience were really nice, and they asked loads of questions.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was really good fun.
It was a good day, though, Kaz, wasn't it?
It was. It was a lovely day. Busy but lovely.
And when are you going to do it again?
Next year, hopefully.
Are you going to stay in Leeds, or are you going to go somewhere else?
Well, that will be telling.
Maybe London?
Probably not. Likely to be Leeds, but maybe some other places as well. We might diversify out.
Well, really, I mean, it's kind of whatever's it. Oh, count us in. Well, Leeds is as good a place as any, really, isn't it? So.
Well, I guess it's got good transport links, hasn't it? We've got an airport, we've got a good train station from lots of main routes, plenty of places to stay.
Yeah, it's a good town. It's a good place.
So I reckon I was in your town more recently than you were in mine.
Really?
I was in Hull, a few weeks ago at Hull Comic Con.
Were you here, or what, at the university?
It was at Prince's Quay.
Oh wow! I wonder where. In fact, was it good?
It was, yeah.
Did you dress up?
No, because we were working for my husband's business. I have dressed up in the past.
I think my daughter went. I think she went to it.
Some of my favourite pictures are from Comic Cons. I've got a picture of me hugging a fairy called Kaz at Comic Con. And I've got a picture of my husband with a Wookiee, which is my favourite picture ever in the world, because he's taller than the Wookiee.
Really? Oh wow! He must be 6'5" then, 6'6" or something like that.
Yeah, he's 6'6".
Wow!
He was taller than the guy in the Chewbacca suit, and it was genuinely one of my favourite pictures of him.
You should get him a Chewbacca suit. I bet he'd love it.
He would be it's typecasting.
Get him one for Christmas.
Do they make them yeah? Well, obviously they make them for tall people, but yeah. He said she's speaking for you too. So encounters into another Leeds event.
Yeah, I'd love to come. I loved it. It was great.
Do you know, it was so much fun, and I think may well happen again.
Cool. Sounds good.
You've got other events planned anyway. You were talking about doing an event at Waterstones and.
Sorry.
Weren't you talking about doing an event in Hull? Maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, Waterstones. I think they might help us out with some stuff next year, hopefully. Because I'm going to write, as I say, I'm going to write my next seafaring book next year, which will be set in World War I, with a First World War trawler against a German U-boat. So hopefully, we'll do some sort of launch for that.
When does the sequel to Avenue Cars come out?
It depends when I finish it, really. Probably January next year, maybe.
Are we going to find out any more about the girls?
Maybe a little bit, but not too much. There's quite a big scene that I cut from the original book, which tells you some really important information about our day. But it was so sad that the editor said, my editor said, look, you just can't put that in. It just brings the whole book down. It makes it so sad. So we cut it out, and we might bring that back in. You will get a little glance of some of the girls, You might get a little glance at some of the other crime bosses, but really it focuses on a different part of the city. And our Dave's in it. He's in it quite a lot, but it focuses on a young fellow who's I can't really explain it to you very well at the moment because it's not all there in my head. Because I don't plan my books, I just kind of write them. I know what's going to happen at the end, but so I don't quite know how the jigsaw fits together yet, but I will. And he basically looks after people. He's kind of a personal security, kind of like a bodyguard, but in a whole version. And he's kind of a sweet guy with like one tooth, and he wears trendy clothes, and he's a bit green.
I don't imagine like the bodyguard, but the whole version being very glamorous.
Well, yeah, bodyguards and bouncers they come in all shapes and sizes, really. Yeah, some of them are great, some of them are not so great.
You can't get away, I don't think, without giving us a bit more about the girls from Avenue Cars, because they're so spectacular as characters.
What would you like to know about them? What you mean? What happens to them?
Yeah, what happens to them? I feel like you can't leave them. You've got to bring them back somehow in some other way.
But I mean, I think it's like
just come back in a Christmas special or something.
Yeah, maybe. But if you like listen to someone like, I mean, I'm not saying, if you listen to someone like Tarantino tell you about his characters, he will say he wants to leave you, wanting to know more about that character, and he's not going to tell you anything else. That's it. So he leaves you with that taste in your mouth of wanting to know more, but he won't. He's not going to tell you anymore. And so I think there's this kind of value in that. You just whet someone's appetite, and then that's it. So I don't know if they'll come back or not. I don't know. They might make an appearance, but what do you want to know how they're doing or what their lives going to be? Or
I feel like you could have a whole series based on some of those girls. Like I reckon you could write a few things with them.
The thing is, though, I mean, I just hope that if I start writing about them, then bad things might happen to them, and I don't want anything bad to happen to them.
It's not an excuse not to write about them.
Well, we might see them. I don't know yet, but definitely our Dave's in it. Maybe Kasia, the red-headed girl's in it as well. I'm not sure. But yeah, the gangsters from Leeds and tough Hull lads. And it's a love story. This one, it will be a whole gangland love story.
That's like quite a new turn for you.
There's always a love story in my books, always. But it's just, yeah. So this will be... there'll be a love story in it, and also obviously there'll be lots of crime in it as well. So, but it will be a love story.
When I first interviewed you, you were a bit like, "I'm not sure I write crime."
Well, I wasn't sure I wrote crime, but I guess I kind of do because it's in lots of the books, really. But I don't know if I'm a crime writer. I don't know if I'm an East Yorkshire writer. I write stories about East Yorkshire, and some of them have got crime in it. But I don't know if I'm a crime writer. But you would be better judged to say, Kaz.
I think it's how you what you define crime writing as. If you think about it narrowly, like just with police and things like that, then you're not. But if it's anything with a crime in it, then you are.
Yeah, I suppose so. And crime is a really vibrant genre, isn't it? I mean,
and I'd say the North Sea Tales, a classic kind of locked room mystery.
You said that to me, yeah. Yeah, maybe it is. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, but I mean, crime's huge, isn't it? It's like every kind of historical crime, I don't know, like horror crime. There's all sorts of different. And I think crime writers push the boat out a little bit, and they do things that are different from perhaps other genres.
I recommended it the other day on an author chat to someone.
Oh,
it was
great.
Locked room crime books, and I was saying one of my favourites is North Sea Tales.
Oh, great. Well, that's really good of you, Kaz, that. So, I did sell the film rights to North Sea Tale.
Did you?
Yeah. Whether they make it into a film is a different matter. But, it was kind of nice to sell them, but I'm not expecting anything to happen, really.
Very few ever get to the television stage, don't they?
Yeah, a lot of things happen and people say things and send you promises, but I don't really think anything will come of it.
Would you want to? So one of Sam's favourite author chat questions is if it was televised, what role would you play?
In North Sea Tale?
Yeah.
I would be Captain Richard Bird.
You'd be all right out on a trawler filming at sea?
No, but if they said, do you want to do it, I would go, yeah. I don't think I'm right for him. I'm not handsome enough for him anyway. He's kind of dark-haired and tough. I'd probably be much better as, I don't know, maybe one of the horrible Heather boys or something like that. Maybe the nasty Heather boy who beats people up and bites someone's ear off.
I'm trying to... I mean, you couldn't actually film on a trawler out at sea, really, could you? I don't think.
I don't know.
Don't have to be on a set, and they're not like huge boats, are they?
They're not. No, they're not. And so you'd have to sort of lie and make them look bigger than they are. So it would be a tough one. I don't know.
There was a trawler in Hull, like the harbour bit for a while, like a museum one that you could go on, wasn't there?
Yeah. It's called the Arctic Corsair. It's the last sidewinder trawler left. And we've got it. They're just doing it up, I think, at the moment, and then you can go back on board it. But you could walk around it for many years. In fact, the cuckoo is that. The cuckoo in the book is the Arctic Corsair, because I went on board it years ago and looked around it. There's lots of videos on YouTube which show you all around it. So I just copied the sort of layout of that book. And there's a great video where the captain of he captained the Arctic Corsair, and he just tells you everything about being on a trawler. And I just watched that about 100 times, and he taught me everything I needed to know. Wonderful.
It's quite an experience, isn't it, going to look on them? Like, I remember going to walk around it.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you sort of, when you hear stories about them, you have an impression, and then they're like very different when you actually go to sea.
I think going to sea is just an absolutely terrifying event. I mean, your dad did it, didn't he?
He did, yeah, back in the 60s.
It's not something I'd wish on anyone, to be honest. It's even now, even the big freezer ships they've got now are still, still bobbing up and down.
It's an incredibly dangerous job, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. And it was one of the most dangerous jobs, more dangerous than mining back in the day. But yeah, you got paid well, and so they like to do it.
Yeah, my dad's enjoyed it, I think.
Yeah. I tried to chat to him. I didn't get a chance to chat to him very much, but yeah, I wanted to ask him all about it and his experiences on there, because he went for one season. Is that right?
I think he did at least one season. He was up off the coast of Ireland when some boats went down, I think.
Okay.
It's got some stories to tell.
Oh, I'd like to pinch those off him, actually.
Let's drop him a message. I'm sure he'll help. Yeah. Absolutely. What have you read? Give us what you've read recently that you've enjoyed. I always like asking this.
I'm awful, Kaz, for reading. I really am. I've been actually reading just lately this morning, I've been reading the Neil Gaiman version of the Marvel superheroes set in 1650. Have you read that before?
I have not. My favourite superhero comics are Wonder Woman.
Really? What the graphic novels?
Yeah, love them. The original William Wilson run is my favourite.
I love a graphic novel, really.
I'm like a massive nerd. I love graphic novels.
Yeah, me
Absolutely.
too. But you read them too fast.
You do. But yeah, manga as well. Really like manga and things like that.
So what's your favourite manga title?
Most recently, Beasters.
Is it American or Japanese or?
It's Japanese. It's about I'm trying to think how you'd explain what happens. Someone is killed and eaten at a high school, but all of the students are animals.
Bizarre.
And then they try and work out what has happened. There's a bit of gangland-y kind of stuff in it as well. Very good.
I used to love that stuff. I always thought I was a sci-fi writer and a fantasy writer, and I did that for a long time, but they're not very good. So I tend to be better at like kind of modern world and historical stuff. I never thought that. I thought really thought I was a science fiction writer. That's what I wanted to write. But yeah, I can't really do it.
And yet all the books that people love of yours, including like the Highwayman series, which is brilliant, are all historical.
I know, yeah. I mean, there's no magic in him, and there's no one with like a mechanical arm, or there's no one with laser guns. It's like, well, what am I writing? I was meant to be writing Judge Dredd. It's meant to be writing about werewolves or something like that. But no, it's ended up being sort of more like John Steinbeck, really. So, but anyway, this is it. This is what I do, and I don't mind it.
I think it's good though. I think we need more people to know, because Hull and East Yorkshire is a lovely place. I know we've joked about it, but it is genuinely a really lovely place to visit. It's full of history.
Thank you, Kaz.
And I think more people need to know about it, and you learn about it through fiction often, don't you? So we need writers like you and Nik telling people the stories of.
Yeah. Well, it's just the same as like your granddad telling you stories about the history of the area. I mean, I didn't really know anything about trawlers until I wrote that book. I certainly didn't know about anything about 18th century history until I wrote those books. And they're full of stories that can tell us about ourselves today. And it's not. I just write about East Yorkshire because it's where I live and it's what I know, and no one's really written about it before. So it's kind of a fresh thing for me to write about.
I mean, you could write things that further afield because you've lived all.
I have lived in lots of different countries, but it only served to explain more about living here, really. Because when you live abroad, you learn as much about your own country by seeing the different ways that people live. So you kind of learn about home as well. So yeah, I've lived a lot of places and things, but there's loads of stuff in East Yorkshire to write about. You're gone forever, really.
But yeah, I think if you went out and explored, there's a lot to tell, isn't there?
I've got lots more books to come. I might even go back as far as the Bronze Age. I'm not sure yet. But
that'd be quite a challenge, I think.
Yeah, well, then you get to make anything up you want because we're not really sure exactly what happened. And there's a brilliant monolith called the Rudston Monolith in a tiny village of Rudston near Bridlington. And it's got this huge monolith next to the church. It's like 9 foot tall. It's the biggest standing stone in England. And nobody knows why it's there or who put it there. So it's like a kind of Yorkshire Stonehenge.
Now there's something to write about, isn't it?
Yeah, but don't ever touch it if you go there, Kaz. It's very, very unlucky to touch it.
It'd be like writing your fantasy or sci-fi.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. History.
Exactly. You can. Yeah. So maybe I'll go down that route. I don't know.
That'd be quite fun, I would imagine.
Yeah. So, and there's loads of other stuff in East Yorkshire. I could bore you with it all day, but there's loads of things to write about.
You've got well, there's a whole slave. There's William Wilberforce was from.
Yeah, he was from here as well. I mean, they made a film about that already, haven't they?
I don't think it's still well known though. There's still some mileage.
There's maybe some mileage in that as well. Yeah, there's lots of there's that too. Beverly's a great town to write about.
Have you got Captain Cook as well? Wasn't he up from around there?
Was he Whitby or Scarborough? Was he from there?
Yeah, somewhere around there, wasn't he?
North Yorkshire, see.
Is that venturing out too far?
Yeah, it's like foreign, really, that.
We are at 8:00. Remind everyone what they're off to buy.
You're off to buy Swift Nik, the final series in my Highwayman trilogy. But if you haven't read the North Sea, The Great Frost, please have a look at that one. That's the first in the series, and it should whet your appetite for the next two. So if you want to jump out and buy that, if you like some historical fiction, it's a really good story about a young lass who falls in love with a highwayman, and there's all sorts of nasty things happen in the tiny village where they live in the Great Frost of 1709. And if you don't like that kind of stuff, head up for Avenue Cars, gangland thriller set on the streets of Hull.
Which is also brilliant. Gigi Campbell summed it up brilliantly, though, didn't she, with Great Frost, if you only buy one book this year.
That's very sweet of her. She also writes some great stuff as well.
Oh, she does. I think this is her as well, saying Richie Ladd is next on her TV pile.
Oh, great. Okay. Hope you enjoy it.
You've got a fan now, and like another one. Have a little collection of us soon. Fans of your writing.
That would be sweet.
Thanks again. You're always a pleasure to interview.
Oh, thanks for talking to us, Kaz, and happy Yorkshire Day to you.
Yeah, good luck with Nik the Swift.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks very much. Keep going on the website and on the Facebook thing. It's great. It's a really supportive page. We all love it.